Well, hey everybody, Kirk and Bill in the Kirk and Bill show. Welcome to today's episode. We've got some big news to talk about, and we're glad that some of you will be here to follow along. And if you're catching this on the replay, because we kind of did this a little bit unscheduled, please leave your comments in the comments section, and we'll proceed to answer those later. But today we want to just do a quick update. Bill, thanks for making time to jump on kind of in the middle of your busy day. Now that Wisconsin's back open for business, I suppose you've got a few clients that are clamoring to ask you questions.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, glad to be on with you again today, and it's kind of fun to talk about something that's different and how to move forward. But the big question that I'm hearing from my clients and seeing on social media from business owners is, well, now what? Okay, we're open. The stay-at-home order has been struck down. Business in Wisconsin is moving forward, kind of as is. So now what do? We for 6, 8, 10 weeks, whatever it's been, have been either shut down or limited. What do we do next?
Yeah, so for those of you who maybe have not heard, yesterday the Wisconsin Supreme Court struck down the DHS, that's the Department of Health Services, Emergency Order number 28, Safer at Home Order, with a 4-3 decision. And basically that rendered the order that was given out by the DHS as an unlawful and unenforceable order, which ended it effective immediately. Now, there are some questions as to whether it was an immediate action, but then the court basically went on and declined the legislature's request to stay the injunction for 6 days, which would have basically kept it in place for 6 days so that they could come up with a better plan or a more legal plan together with the governor. And they just threw that out completely. So essentially, Wisconsin is no longer under an order. However, we still do have COVID-19, and we still do have some things to talk about. And so that's what we want to do today. Now that we're open for business, we still don't have the ability to just willy-nilly open our doors and go back to business as normal. We need to do things the right way, both to protect ourselves, our customers, and the freedom that we have to have business. Because, Bill, what happens if COVID explodes and we start seeing a lot of things happen in Polk County?
Well, here's the best breakdown that I can give you. We need to start from the premise, and whether you think things should still be shut down or not shut down, we need to understand and start from the premise that COVID-19 is extremely contagious.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very serious respiratory disease that if you get, you can transmit very easily. And specifically, if you are older or have an underlying health condition, it can be extremely lethal, especially as the older you get, the more lethal it becomes, according to the statistics that are out there. So we need to start from the area that this is a serious situation, and just because business is open now doesn't mean, like you said, it's just a free for all. Because I can tell you that if cases spike, if hospitals start filling up again, the state may not clamp down, but the county's going to, or locally we're going to. So we need to be diligent in how we're opening our businesses. We need to think through how we're doing it, do it correctly, train your staff, train your vendors, because if we don't do this appropriately and correctly and we see a huge spike in cases, we're going to get shut down again. And it will be in the legislature in the state, and they'll do it appropriately because it was kind of a technicality ruling that I call, the way I read it. I'm not a lawyer. I've seen lawyers break it down. And if you want to go to Dryden's interview with Adam Jarkow this morning, he actually did a pretty good job of breaking down the ruling. But I do know that the legislature, they'll take it serious. If we suddenly get tens of thousands of cases, we're going to see things clamp down again.
Yeah. And I, in that vein, we were told by the court that the reason they were striking it down is because they had an expectation that they've been listening to this court case for 2 weeks, and they have an expectation that in good faith the legislature, the Department of Health, and the governor should be working together. Now, I haven't seen that in real life, but I would imagine that they are now trying to figure out what the next step is. So there are a couple different things that could happen.
Let's have the Bill and Kirk show. Call on the legislature and the governor to work together
Absolutely.
to be able to advance this forward. Let's put the political points aside. Who's scoring what and whose fault is it? Let's set that aside and let's figure out what is a reasonable way to move forward together, and what criteria do we need to know that, again, if things explode or start swinging up, what do we really do to slow down the spread of this disease should it run wild again?
Yeah, and I have no inclination that there's not going to be some sort of a move by the legislature and the governor. As Adam said today, there's some appetite to work together on this because it is a serious disease.
Mm-hmm.
I just think whatever's going to come out of Madison will be a lot more business friendly and more realistic for putting the precautions in place, but not mandating such harsh things that are going to clamp things down. Now, if there is a big output of cases, then I do think that they will change their mind on that. But we can expect that probably Evers or the legislature will put out something, and they will try and put that together for a package that they can agree on,
right.
And it'll probably be more business friendly. Now, you mentioned the counties, and the counties have a wide variety of powers that they can enact too,
right.
as do municipalities. And we're seeing this more in the eastern part of the state, which I think is probably an indication of the cases that are over there. But
right.
Dunn County, Madison, and Milwaukee have all come out and basically just took what Evers had done and said, "Yep, we're gonna just keep doing this until at least the 26th." And so, in those cases,
my guess they're doing that, knowing that there'll be a court challenge and knowing that takes time, mm-hmm. and essentially giving the legislature and the governor time to come together. But the bottom line is this is very positive news for people that are my clients, that are my friends, that are small business owners that are wondering what the heck is going on. This is positive. I'm excited about it. I know there's some trepidation. I've been on social media a bit today, so I've seen that there's a little bit of fear out there, and that's okay. That's to be expected. So what am I telling my clients? What I'm telling my clients is, continue how your operation was yesterday, continue it today, continue it tomorrow. And then, let's let 48 hours pass, kind of see what's going to happen. And then we can make a plan moving forward. Specifically, if you think about bars, restaurants, or even retail, they even have to get supplies in. They have to get people rehired. I mean, it's going to take a little bit for things to open up and be where they were. On top of it, let's not screw it up.
Yeah,
let's do it right.
And there were a number of bars and restaurants that did open yesterday, probably anticipating this, but it was probably a smaller crowd. They're implementing the recommendations. Mostly, from what I hear, people are very aware that they want to do this right so that we don't have a resurgence,
right.
And we don't have the state clamping down. This is kind of our opportunity to say, hey, look, we got this under control. We're going to do what we need to do to protect ourselves, protect our customers, and move things forward. The county did come out with, the health department did come out with some things that we need to be thinking about this morning.
Right.
I received those. Number one, if you're thinking of opening back up, you probably want to check with your insurance provider, maybe get some legal counsel to make sure that you're covered on all of those things. For most businesses, that probably wouldn't be a big deal, but there are businesses that have a lot of liability and a little bit more risk, that they should probably take that in there. And then, of course, they give the physical distancing, the how many people per square foot. We have a lot of people that are asking about churches. When can churches open up? And again, I would follow your advice and not do anything prematurely because we don't know what's going to come today or tomorrow from the state. But we also know that the county is saying that there should be physical distancing with 4 people per 1,000 square foot or operating at 25% capacity. That's not a lot of people. And certainly, while that doesn't have the same teeth as a state mandate, they do have that power and can come in and talk to you about those things. They did also say if there's egregious things happening, to contact them, and they'll try and work collaboratively to address it. So they haven't given a free pass to people and said, hey, the state's Supreme Court did this. We're not, it's hands off. They're still saying, hey, this is serious, and we want to make sure that we're doing it right. So follow those protocols. The EDCs put out great information. You worked on one of those boards with the Polk County EDC, which kind of worked similarly to the Wisconsin EDC. What are in those things, and where can we get those?
We'll post the links on there, but the WEDC and the Polk County EDC is Economic Development Corporation. Both turned out some really, really good material. The Polk County version is a little more nuts and bolts and a little less flash than what they put out at the state level, but it's very thorough, especially if you're a small business owner and you're like, what the heck, what do I have to think through in order to get employees back? How do I, how often should I be sanitizing? How do I make my employees feel safe? How do I make my vendors feel safe? How do I keep people safe and coming in and out? The WEDC, they did a phenomenal job. I don't know. They have 10, 12 different industry specific things. They're like 3-pagers. They say exactly, this is what you should be looking at. This is what you should be doing. These are best practices. Now, again, I want to stress that when we put these out, these are best practices. Again, the state Supreme Court has ruled that the safer at home is out. All of those rules are out. These are best practices. So the tooth of law is not behind them. But I would encourage everybody to kind of observe them, bring them into your business, make people feel safe, make people feel comfortable. Again, some people are going to go out and they're going to be going hog wild and they're going to be going crazy. They're never going to put a mask on and whatever. And some people are going to be very uncomfortable. My wife's 36 weeks pregnant. She's wearing a mask. She wants to be safe. She does not want COVID, and we don't want it. There's people that are immune compromised, again, older people. You're going to want to think through all of those aspects as you're reopening your business, as you're expanding what you're doing. It's not, the light switch has been flipped and it's been on, and now it's incumbent on us as community leaders, as business owners, as managers, as community-oriented people to move forward and do it in the most responsible way that we can, so we can show 14 days from now, 21 days from now, there's no uptick in cases. People are going to feel a lot more comfortable, and that's when the economy is really going to get back humming. Once we can show, okay, we can do this, more and more people are comfortable, more people are out spending money. People from Minnesota are still locked down. Tourists are going to come. They're going to come, so we're going to have to be ready to capture it, but capture it in a safe way.
Yeah, and I think if we put those precautions in, I was just talking with some event organizers in St. Croix Falls, talking about, how to handle things like the farmers market and providing hand wash stations, and how do we mitigate upcoming events. These are conversations that we're going to have. And again, we're not going to make rash decisions because in 2 days, the state might change their mind or might add something on there that
they might ban mass gatherings.
Right.
The legislature might say, you know what, it's like pro sport events, big conventions. We're going to allow everything to happen but that. There's a lot of variations that can happen. So, if you're a small business owner, think through it. But, before you do anything crazy,
anything that's going to cost you money.
Anything that's going to cost you money or a tremendous amount of time, I'm encouraging you to just wait it out a little bit further. Right. Don't buy the big billboard. Don't go buy a new truck, whatever. Just chill out, plan, and see what's going to happen before you move. But put your plan together. Use this time. Now you can open or you can expand. Use this time to get your sanitation in place and just kind of your rotation and make sure anything that you let lapse, you turn back on. And
Yeah.
it's kind of this. It was this abrupt closing, right? Bam, you're closed, and now it's whoop, we're open. So
Like 3
it's
hours
you kind of
notice.
get whiplash,
Corned beef and
right? It's
hash
like
is
literally
going to
the
go to waste.
right. It's an amazing time to be alive, and we have to be able to capture what we can in our community to help our economy grow.
So as we look towards things that we're involved in, I think there's some significant things. Wanigan Days, the city is determining what's the next step for that. Can we do Wanigan Days? Do we need to push it out? Is it canceled for the year? We haven't made
Right.
that decision, so no worries. We're still having conversations with all the powers that be. This kind of changes a lot of our conversation. The Polk County Fair, they're figuring out what they're going to do. The Rib Fest now music festival that they're doing, that was supposed to be this gigantic thing, a lot of money invested. We're having that discussion with the city and
Right.
with you're intimately
Make
involved
it
in that with the
happen. Yeah.
chamber.
Yeah.
So these are all things that this new order changed, and we have to see what else will change with it and if it's going to be a big problem. So I'm wondering what the Wheels and Wings folks down in Osceola are struggling with right now, because they did close their September event.
Right.
And are they solid on that? Have they thought that through enough? Or
I can tell you this much agonizing and trying to figure out as the Falls Chamber is doing with our music. Ribfest presents, Falls Music Festival. I can tell you that they did not come to that decision lightly, and they're going to stick
Absolutely.
to it. It's a tough deal to be an event organizer, and it got, after you post something like that, you should not look at Facebook for an extended period of
Oh,
time,
they got
because
hammered with negativity.
the vitriol on that.
Right.
Anybody, if you've never been involved or volunteer at an event like that, I think they get 10,000 people or more that come to it. The logistics and the amount of volunteer hours, I think it ends up being certainly in the thousands of volunteer hours.
Right.
And to coordinate all that and to expend the money, the problem is you expend all that money and then you can't do it. The organization's bankrupt and you never have Wheels and Wings again. So that's
Right.
what you're trying to avoid. It's just a tricky thing. So as we've said a bunch of times on here, give people grace.
Yep.
Everybody's just trying to do the best that they can. Same with business owners, same with, people that are going to be at restaurants. And as you start venturing out, give servers a little bit of extra room and time, and,
Give
just,
them
it's
a big
okay
tip. Those guys are
yeah, give them a
hurting.
big, they are, but it's just important, I think, to, kind of have that extra grace for people right now, because everyone wants to reopen and wants to get going, but at the same time want to do it safely. And this community has been pretty awesome. The area that we live, and the support that I think, especially businesses that had to shut down, feel local businesses. So I have a lot of confidence that the community will continue to be respectful and rally around, and make sure that we're taking care of the most vulnerable, because they're the most vulnerable right now. The old, the sick, the immune compromised. This is super serious for them.
Yeah, and as we kind of bring this to a close, every business is going to be a little bit different, and so we want to respect the different businesses and their choices to open or not open,
Right.
or wait 48 hours. They are going to do what's best for them and what's best for their customers. I reached out to all of the different leaders in the city and got a response back from the library, who basically said, we're going to follow the Department of Education's instructions, suggestions to stay closed for now, and then they have a procedure for opening. So for now, they're still going to do curbside pickup. They're going to make it work, but for them, that's what works. And I just think that there are going to be some people that are maybe frustrated because things aren't open, and they thought, hey, we're open, why aren't your doors open? Give a lot of grace. People are struggling through the legality, the fear of lawsuits, anything,
Right.
Things that you maybe don't think of just because you're hungry. But there is going to be a resurgence. I really think that business is going to jump back fast. What I'm worried
Yeah.
about is not that haircutting salons are not open and I can't get an appointment. Now I'm not going to be able to get an appointment because the list is so long. it might be 2-3
Right.
weeks out before they have an opening. So, I'm excited that this is open, but we need to be cautious. Bill, what other thoughts do you have on all of this? Any closing thoughts?
I guess my closing thoughts, just remain that, I find myself kind of at a weird crux on this because I'm on the board of the trustees at the hospital, so I get all the information that they put out. I'm on the Falls Chamber of Commerce. My wife is a physician; she's pregnant. I have little kids, so the school closings affecting me, and I've been at home with them a lot, a lot more than I ever thought I would. So as we transition out of this, as you said, Kirk, a lot of businesses are going to do things different. I can just say locally, some have publicly stated that they're just going to continue with curbside pickup restaurants. Some have said, the bar's open, but we remove seats. The Dallas House, talked about removing, seats at the bar and making sure that everything's safe. There's going to be a varied approach, and, just give them space, continue to patronize them, as hopefully this pandemic hopefully winds down. Who knows? People talk about second wave, third wave. It might be with us for a long time, but as we learn to live with it, and as we learn to socially distance, as we learn to kind of work together through this, there's nothing but positivity. We had Sarah Meany on, talking about tourism last week, and if we can do this correctly, I think we can capture a lot of those dollars. I think a lot of our businesses can come back, and I think we can do it safely. But it's going to take a community effort.
Yep. And in closing, from the city's perspective as mayor of St. Croix Falls and representing just my small niche of area in Polk County, I can tell you that our city is very excited to see businesses thrive and succeed. And we want to be as supportive as we can in helping businesses do that as safely as possible and as thoroughly as possible. So as I read Sonia's note on the comments, we just are really enthusiastic for businesses to get back to as normal as possible, and we look forward to
Absolutely.
that. So please continue to patronize is it patronize or patronize? One's good, one's bad. Keep shopping locally, eat locally, and spend your dollars locally. That makes a huge difference. And, we have a lot of amazing activities and fun things that we can do. Get out there and do them, enjoy them, live life. Don't be afraid to live, and enjoy all the things that we can do here. And hopefully as we keep moving forward, we'll have opportunities to see bigger events like churches and the festival theater, the movie theater, things like that start to normalize and open their doors when they feel comfortable and based on the health guidelines. So if you have questions about anything in regards to city stuff, feel free to reach out to me. If you need help with marketing and technology, reach out to me. If you need help with business and business practices, HR stuff, you can talk to Bill, and that's why we have this show. So that's about all we have for today. I want to thank you guys for jumping on with us in this discussion about the Supreme Court decision and how it's going to affect your business. Please share it with other people, and we'll look forward to bringing updates as they come, especially
I bet you $1 that in less than a week we'll be back talking about new guidelines.
I can't imagine that we won't, but I do think there are going to be a lot more geared towards keeping businesses open and just doing things the right way. So make sure you wash your hands, stay safe, and enjoy your day. God bless, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, guys.